we talked earlier, and we were kind of looking at that 30 visit list. A little different this year.
The reported 30 visit list.
Reported. And they've got some names on there that it doesn't seem like are going to make it to 24. They haven't moved up ever since the Mo Claiborne draft to get your guy at LSU.
You're just gonna bring Mo up like you're just throwing my school under
the
bus.
You mean like this?
He was fantastic at LSU.
Airplane Mo, baby.
What do you think the likelihood is? Maybe they're looking into moving up.
Not any higher than it normally would be. But like Bobby, do you agree with me on that? Like I think people see.
I think the 30 visit list is stacked very weird this year.
I
don't we normally see, like, if they were picking at 24, wouldn't we normally see there's 8 names that could realistically be there at 24 that you'd also think you could potentially see them using there? Whereas this time around, I see like 2, 3, and the others I think are above 24 or a little bit further back.
I disagree. I think like the meat and potatoes, and again, it is reported. I mean, those things are subject to change, but like we do know that like Kenyon Green, Traylon Burks, Chris Olave were there.
Mm-hmm.
Zion Johnson is another one. That's 4 names that I think is right in that range.
Was Charles Cross confirmed?
I don't know if he was
Cross was confirmed.
Cross is the one that's the most interesting.
Cross is the one because even
London's one. Drake London shouldn't be there. Jordan Davis shouldn't be there.
Drake London. See, I disagree.
Is that just about positional value to you?
Drake London, I agree, is weird that he's there. Charles Cross is a little weird. Yeah, I mean, Jordan Davis, do I think he'll go off the board before 24? Definitely. But yeah, then you get into the conversation of like, this guy's a nose tackle. Is he worth that big of a pick? I do think he will go off the board, but I don't think it's crazy to do your due diligence on a nose tackle in the hopes that he'll be there. Charles Cross is the interesting one because I think most people who follow the draft would agree that he's like unanimously seen as a top 15 pick.
Yeah.
Is that the case then? You know, when Jerry, because you were out at league meetings when Jerry talked, when Jerry says that, you know, if there's a CD or a Micah staring us in the face, does he mean literally staring them in the face at 24 or staring them in the face at 17 with a trade up? And that's the type of thing they're talking about, like Cross getting to the teens, and that's what they mean by a CD staring them in the face.
I took it more to mean like if a guy falls who's just absolutely not supposed to be there to 24, like, and we already brought up Mo. Just the easiest name to throw up is Derek Stingley. Like a situation like that where just a guy with the talent.
Easy for you.
What's that?
Easy for you because it's LSU.
No, I love Derek Stingley.
Honestly, he kind of terrifies me as a prospect.
Really?
Being real. Yeah, just I think it's a little bit of a gamble, but the point is the talent is top 5.
Sure.
And so like if you're there with a guy like that, I think that's what he was talking about. But you make an interesting point because Jerry, in so many words, was basically like, come hell or high water, we're going to get an offensive lineman with one of these big picks.
Didn't he say tackle too at one point? Didn't he use the term tackle?
He did say tackle, but he talked about like all of the offensive line prospects in general.
What did because you guys talked to Will, didn't Will, like a big point of emphasis when you guys talked to Will McClay in Indy was he talked a little bit about guard tackle flexibility and those type of prospects this year?
Yeah, and a lot of those guys do have that. I mean,
is that a Kenyon Green reference, you think?
I think it could be a Zion Johnson reference as well.
You think Zion could play tackle?
I think Zion could play center. It's guard tackle, but not guard tackle flexibility, but just position flexibility. So I think they see Zion as having the potential to play some center, and obviously Kenyon Green played 4 of the 5 positions on the offensive line, center being the one that he'd never played.
So here was my conspiracy theory. When you look at the reported list, there are a lot of guys that seem above 24. There were not a lot of, it looked like a lot of, there's first round names, and then it looked like it was third and fourth, and there was not a lot of second round names.
Yeah.
So I kind of wonder if DeMarvin Leal's one name, that could potentially be the second. But I thought overall, when you looked at it, I was like, I wonder if they're just preparing themselves for the contingency plan of we're not going to have a second because we're going to potentially go up and get one of these people.
That seems...
Doesn't it fit with the 30 visit list, though, when you go from first to third rounders?
That's a really interesting theory. I love the way you think outside the box there, because honestly, that thought had never occurred to me. I just think really...
Or is it a reflection of Mike McCarthy's influence on the draft this time around, where he said he's more involved than he has been before? Is the weirdness of the 30 visit list more a reflection of his involvement? Because Green Bay didn't use 30s the way Dallas did.
Well, the other... where I was going to go with it is I think the 30 visit list is very, very useful for figuring out who they're going to pick in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
if you made me bet, I would bet $20 that the eventual pick will be a guy that was in the star this week, unless something crazy happens. But after that, I don't think it's like the stone cold lock map that we make it out to be. You know, like they've got no problem taking guys from rounds 2 through 7 that like we didn't hear about. It happens all the time.
Sure.
So
Connor McGovern had no contact.
Connor
with
McGovern literally like didn't know who was calling him, which it's not a great example to pull up because people are trying to figure out.
Well, and Mo Claiborne had no contact.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they should use it as a stone cold.
What they do in the first round though, and that's at least there's
like
that.
I trust the scouting staff like completely to find people, but
so I just don't overreact to it in the sense that it's like once you get into the second, third, and fourth round, it's like, okay, we're just going to take the best player. We don't need to have had a sit down with him to feel comfortable doing that.
Right.
Whereas when the 5th-year option is involved, when the guy's going to sell jerseys and stuff like that, maybe you want a little more hands-on time.
Can I pull Dave into my CeeDee Lamb controversy?
Oh, please.
Because I have not gotten a chance to bring this up with you.
No,
Have
yeah,
you heard my CeeDee Lamb theory?
He hates CeeDee Lamb.
No, stop that.
No,
Have you heard
we had an interesting conversation about him the other day, so I kind of feel like I know where you're going with this.
We'll see. My contention is I think the guy we saw in CeeDee Lamb last year is pretty close to the guy we're going to get as CeeDee Lamb for the rest of his career. And which I think is a Pro Bowl receiver. I think is a top 20 receiver. I think is a legitimate one. I just don't think we are ever talking about CeeDee Lamb in Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams type of territory.
Why?
Because I think the aspect of his game that we thought was most going to translate and make him that guy was the yards after catch stuff, and we've seen no indication that carried over from Oklahoma.
That's really interesting because I think there have been glimpses of it, like
At times,
like right off the top of my head, the sideline catch he made against San Francisco as a rookie was like a deep crosser. He caught it on the sideline, turned up field, carried some guys with him. There have been moments like that.
I think of the Saints game where he crossed up Malcolm Jenkins
New
last
Orleans,
year.
yeah.
Like there are times, but it's not consistent. He's not been great making catches in traffic. He's had issues completing catches there, and I think a lot of that times that's not stuff where it's just like, oh, you grow there. Like generally, if you're not a good, traffic catcher, you're not this or that. Those aren't aspects of your game necessarily that like, oh, we polish that up and we work on it and it's technique. It's just that's kind of what you are.
So first of all, I don't think you're crazy. We had a long conversation the other day where I basically was like, CD has been good.
And again, he made the Pro Bowl last year. I'm talking about he's a Pro Bowl receiver. He is a one.
But relative to the hype, relative to the expectation of like, holy crap, I can't believe the league let him fall to 17.
Right.
He hasn't been that guy. No. I think that's completely fair to say.
Would he be the best receiver in this year's draft?
Yes.
No.
Who's better?
I like Burks better. I liked Burks better as a prospect than CD as a prospect.
Yeah, I love Burks, but I still think CeeDee's would be better.
I'll take
CD class.
Absolutely, I'll take CD.
Here's what I would say. This is one of the ways I positioned the question, is that do we think by the time their careers are over, do we look back and say Amari Cooper's peak or CeeDee Lamb's peak, who was a better player? I think we're going to say Amari Cooper was.
I think I agree with that right now. I'm hesitant to like I said, I don't completely agree with you, but I'm hesitant to. I can't just with my full chest be like CD's got another gear.
Yeah, and again, like he's top 20. Like I think he is a top.
I don't think he'll ever be a top 5.
No, I just don't think we are ever going to talk about him in like we were talking about Cooper in the second half of 2018, where it's like this dude is one of the 10 best receivers in football.
Sure.
I'll take it a different direction because something that I think he's so good at that we have not seen is his ability as a jump ball contested catch guy, like go up and get it. And that's why we talked about this the other day too. I was convinced he was going to take over the league last summer because I went out to Oxnard and watched him moss every DB on the team, including Trayvon Diggs.
He had that Andy Jones training camp.
Yeah, except it's coming from CeeDee Lamb, and he's doing it day after day. Like the Minnesota catch, the corkscrew thing. He was doing stuff like that every day.
His body control is really great.
And we didn't see, like, we maybe saw one play like that from him this year. His first touchdown in New England, not the game winner, but the first one was a nice like jump ball in the end zone. But we haven't seen a whole lot of that. I think there's more they can do to unlock his
game kind of deal for him, that New England game.
And the New England, and that was the thing. Like that's great. And then right after that, Dak got hurt and he wasn't the same. So it's hard to say. I get there's some some context here. I do like this from the 717. I think this is a great way to just kind of boil it down. He's not an 88. For what they expect the 88s to be on this team, I would say that's fair. He's not an 88.
He has not been an 88 to this point.
I don't think we'll view him as an 88. I think we'll view him as a Pro Bowl receiver. I just don't think we'll view him in the same vein that they talked about Drew Pearson, Michael Irvin, and even Des Bryant.
I'm not ready to say that, and I would argue. I don't want to speak too far out of turn, but like in the spring of what I guess Dez's third season would have been 2012, right?
And he blew up in the third season.
I was going to say in the spring of 2012, did we think Dez was what he was going to become? Because go look, 12, 13, 14 is when he started tearing off 1,200-yard seasons.
But I think we saw.
CeeDee's ahead of where Dez was at this point. Dez barely played his rookie.
But that's the thing. I think we saw the clues of the player that he was going to be. We saw it like the dynamic playmaking on the punt returns and stuff as a rookie.
More crap moments in his first 2 years.
We don't get those. We haven't gotten those with CD. And that's the thing. I think that CD's good. I think it's just, I bet if you ask people within the Cowboys organization, is CD's ceiling as high as you thought it was the night you drafted him? They would say no. They would say it is lower than we initially thought.
I don't completely disagree. I guess I'm not ready to write it off yet. Like
that's fair.
I want to see.
I'm not going to write it off. I'm just saying that's my position where I'm at right now.
Look, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that stupid crap where we act like not having Amari Cooper around is going to be better for CeeDee Lamb. Like I don't buy that.
It's better.
No, it's not.
But we'll see. I mean, he will be the number one option in this offense unless something crazy happens and.
He's the guy. Yeah, he is the guy.
Unless Drake London winds up on this team, he's going to be the guy. And so maybe he can rise to that occasion. I'm not ready to write him off.